Welcome to this explainer. I am so incredibly excited you're here today because we're about to explore an absolute mind-bending 18th century masterpiece. We're going to dive into a work that literally maps out the deepest mysteries of consciousness and existence itself. We're looking at Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz's Monadology, which is a brilliant 90-paragraph text from 1714 that seeks to answer why there's something rather than nothing and how our minds actually work.
Section 1. The Ultimate Building Block. Deconstructing the Physical World. Okay, let's start by questioning the very nature of everything around you. The screen you're looking at, the chair you're sitting in, literally the air you're breathing. To start questioning the nature of everything, ask yourself this. If you keep cutting a piece of paper in half, will you eventually hit a point where you just cannot cut it anymore? For thousands of years, ancient thinkers like Democritus said yes. They called those final pieces atoms, meaning physical, uncuttable particles. But in 1714, the brilliant mathematician and philosopher Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz looked at this physical picture and realized something completely radical. He said the ultimate foundation of reality simply cannot be physical.
Why not? Well, because physical things take up space. Think about a wooden box. It's a composite structure made of parts, right? Hinges, nails, planks. But even if you grind that wood down into ultra-fine dust, each tiny speck of dust still has a left side and a right side. It can always be divided again. A universe made only of divisible physical things would be like a house made of infinite bricks, where every single brick is made of even smaller bricks forever, with no solid floor to ever stand on.
So, Leibniz introduces his genius solution, the monad. Derived from the Greek word monos, meaning unit, a monad is a simple substance. Now, in philosophy, simple doesn't mean easy. It means it has absolutely no parts. Because it's non-physical and partless, it doesn't take up any space at all. And that means it's utterly indestructible by natural means. You can't smash a monad, you can't burn it or dissolve it. It can only be created or annihilated directly by God.
And this brilliantly illustrates one of the absolute most bizarre properties of these building blocks. This famous quote from paragraph 7 of the Monadology tells us that monads are completely isolated. They're like perfectly sealed bubbles. No physical force, no particle, and no information can penetrate a monad from the outside, simply because it has no physical surface or openings to penetrate.
But wait, if they're completely isolated, how does anything ever change? Leibniz resolves this puzzle by explaining that a monad changes entirely from within using two specific processes. First up is perception. But don't think of human eyesight here. Think of a spherical mirror sitting in the middle of a busy city square. The mirror is just one object, but it holds an internal representation of the entire surrounding universe from its own unique angle. Second is appetition. This is the internal programmatic drive, kind of like a hunger, pushing the monad to updated state to the next perception. Sort of like a computer moving automatically to the next line of code.
Section 2. The Hierarchy of Consciousness. From Dust to Angels.
So, if everything is made of perceiving monads, does that mean everyday objects like your coffee cup or a rock outside are actually conscious? The short answer is sort of. Leibniz lays out this beautiful, continuous hierarchy. Down at the bottom, we have bare monads, making up inanimate matter like dirt and rocks. They exist in a confused, dreamless swoon, a state of unconscious perception, kind of like the blurry background noise of a crowded room. One step up, we have souls, which make up animals. Souls possess memory. When a dog chases a stick, it remembers the joy of fetching. It feels pain, and it learns. And finally, at the very top, we have human spirits.
Human spirits are entirely unique because we possess something called apperception. While an animal just perceives a tree, we possess an eye that knows it's observing a tree. We are self-conscious. Add to that our capacity for reason, meaning our ability to understand absolute truths like math and logic, and we're elevated to a level where we can actually comprehend the cosmos itself.
Section 3. The Three Clocks Analogy. Solving the Mind-Body Problem.
Now, how does a non-physical spirit cause a physical arm to move? Think of your mind and your body as two clocks that always show the exact same time. How do they stay perfectly in sync if monads have no windows to interact? Well, option 1 is influence. Descartes thought they directly connected in the brain, but windowless monads can't pull levers in each other, so that doesn't work. Option 2 is intervention. A philosopher named Malebranche argued God constantly steps in to manually move your arm when you want to. But Leibniz pointed out this kind of makes God a lazy miracle worker constantly fixing things. That leaves Leibniz's incredibly elegant third option.
Pre-established harmony. Imagine a master watchmaker who designs two clocks so flawlessly that they tick in absolute synchronization forever, without ever touching. Your mind deciding to raise an arm and your physical arm actually moving are completely isolated events, but they're flawlessly synchronized by God, the ultimate programmer, at the very beginning of time. They're just playing the exact same sheet music.
Section 4, Best of All Possible Worlds, the Logic of the Cosmos.
To really grasp Leibniz's grand vision of the universe and this perfect divine programming, we need to realize he relies on two fundamental pillars of human reasoning. The principle of contradiction governs absolute truths. Like a triangle having three sides, its opposite is mathematically impossible. But physical facts are governed by the principle of sufficient reason. This dictates that every single fact requires a chain of explanation. Like, if you see a shoe mysteriously resting on top of a lamppost, you know it didn't just magically spawn there out of nothing. There has to be a specific reason for it.
And this leads directly to his cosmological argument for God. Imagine a massive chain of falling dominoes. You ask why one falls, and the answer is simply that the one behind it hit it. But even if that chain of dominoes stretches infinitely back in time all the way to the Big Bang, you still haven't answered why the chain itself exists in the first place. The chain demands a sufficient reason outside of the physical universe, a necessary being that contains the reason for its own existence.
So, if this supreme being, God, is going to create a universe, Leibniz argues he viewed an infinite number of possible worlds in his mind before creation. And, logically, God chose the absolute best one. Now, not best meaning a tropical vacation with zero problems, but best based on ultimate mathematical efficiency. It achieves the maximum variety of phenomena while operating on the absolute simplest set of laws.
The French writer Voltaire actually famously mocked this idea in his book Candide, basically asking how a world with war and disease could possibly be the best. But Leibniz defends this by explaining that what we perceive as evil or suffering is like a shadow in a grand mosaic. Up close, a jagged black tile looks ugly, but step back and those dark shadows are absolutely essential to create a stunning, harmonious portrait. If you removed one shadow, the whole tapestry of reality would unravel into a lesser world.
Section 5. The fractal universe, the illusion of matter.
So, if all these monads are immaterial points, why does stubbing your toe on a table feel so painfully solid? Well, Leibniz calls physical matter a well-founded phenomenon. Your sense of solidity is actually an illusion created by your limited human perspective observing billions of active monads. Think of a pointless painting, or maybe a distant flock of sheep on a hill. From a mile away, it looks like a single, solid white cloud. It's only when you zoom in close that the solid cloud dissolves into hundreds of individual, highly active living units.
In paragraph 67, Leibniz reveals this mind-blowing vision of a fractal universe. Because every single monad perceives, there is literally no dead matter anywhere. Every drop of water in that pond contains smaller ponds, infinitely deep, teeming with life at every single scale. In this universe, death doesn't actually exist. It's simply a monad's perceptions folding up and getting confused, while birth is those exact same perceptions vividly unfolding.
Section 6. Leibniz's modern legacy, the first digital philosopher. As we wrap up this explainer, while we do have to acknowledge historical criticisms of Leibniz, especially regarding whether we truly have free will if we're just pre-programmed, or if his optimism makes light of very real human suffering, we also absolutely must celebrate his astounding genius. Just look at how this 18th century thinker shockingly anticipated modern science. Modern quantum physicists agree with Leibniz. Physical objects aren't hard, solid marbles at their core, but non-physical fields of probability. Furthermore, Leibniz literally invented the ones and zeros of binary code. He basically envisioned the entire universe as a masterfully synchronized digital network of individual processors long before the first computer was ever built.
Leibniz leaves us with a universe that's a living, deeply connected organism, where you, yes you, are a unique, irreplaceable mirror of this vast cosmos. So, I want to leave you pondering this final provocative thought, based on everything we've covered today. Looking at the grand, mathematical balance of the cosmos, do you think we live in the best of all possible worlds?
Please like and subscribe.